Page 463. Continued. Some contemporary writers. Para. Khushwant Singh's India, a Mirror for Its Monsters and Monstrosities and Malicious Gossip, 1987, are collections of essays on casual topics. He writes in his usual crisp, light, gossipy, ironical and sarcastic style. He can write about anything or any person that comes to his mind in his typical, humorous, impish and ironical style. Singh's autobiography entitled Truth, Love and a Little Malice, 2002, records his views on sex, wine and women, and on life, religion and country. The descriptions of sex, women and extramarital relationship are obscene and seem to be immoral. His two books on Sikhs, Who is a Sikh, and Guru Nanak and Sikh Religion, 1968, also deserve mention. Para. Amitav Kumar's Bombay, London, New York is an autobiographical narrative, quote, of a young man who uses his own life to bridge the abyss that separates the worlds, east and west, unquote, stop. Kumar's style is smooth and easy to read. Out of God's Oven, Travels in a Fractured Land, 2002, by Dom Moraes and Sarayu Srivastava, is a travelogue of substance and birth. It is a realistic presentation of India's condition which the writers themselves observed in various parts of the country. What is valuable in the book are the opinions of some of India's most talented, creative people whom the authors interviewed. Para. Lieutenant General Depinder Singh wrote a biography entitled Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, Soldiering with Dignity, 2002, which vividly recreates the personality of Manekshaw as a brave soldier, his interest in marshalling the 1971 Bangladesh War, the surrender of Pakistani army under the command of General Niazi on December 16, 1971. Arun Shoury's Governance and the Sclerosis That Has Set In, 2004, exposes the tyranny of Indian bureaucracy, quote, bloated and rusty, unquote, page 464, that has handed the state's, printing mistake, hand-read the state's progress. I repeat again, Arun Shoury's Governance and the Sclerosis That Has Set in 2004 exposes the tyranny of Indian bureaucracy, quote, bloated and rusty, unquote, that has hampered the state's progress, stop. Page 464. Vasant Sathe, the seasoned politician of the old order, wrote his memoirs entitled Memoirs of a Rationalist, 2005. Sathe's outspokenness on issues of critical concern to the country or his unconventional lifestyle is admirable. Para. Nobel laureate Professor Amartya Sen's The Argumentative Indian, 2005, makes us realize how scientific temper has been the hallmark of Indian thought over the millennia. It is a collection of 16 erudite essays which help us realize the ethos of India. Its style is terse, precise, but lucid and erudite. Section. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, a scientist, a secular Indian, an intellectual and rationalist, a humanist and spiritualist, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the President of India, is one of the foremost thinkers and writers of the world. He is primarily a scientist commonly called, quote, the missile man, unquote, stop. He has to his credit new inventions, for instance, Prithvi, Akash, Agni, Nag, and experiments like Pokhran II and many other scientific achievements. He embodies humility, simplicity, creativity, discipline, devotion, and dedication, and the highest degree of scientific and spiritual knowledge. Here we are concerned with Dr. Kalam's memorable contribution to Indian English prose. Dr. Kalam is a versatile writer in his own right. He combines visions and reality, idealism and practical wisdom, creativity and rationality, and scientific temper and spirituality in his writings. His famous autobiography, Wings of Fire, and autobiography 1999, written with Arun Tiwari, who impressed upon him to write his memoirs, ranks with the greatest autobiographies of the world. It is a story of the struggles and sufferings of Dr. Kalam, a boat owner's son who, by dint of determination, dedication and discipline, has become India's most distinguished living technocrat. B. Sharma, editor, Philosophy and Social Action, calls it, quote, the first authentic volume on our Indian space odyssey, unquote, comma, and we may add of missile program. Written in simple, clear and lucid English, it is studded with gem-like quotations from the Vedas, the Gita, the Quran, T.S. Eliot, Emerson and many other writers. In India, 2020, A Vision for the New Millennium, 1998, Dr. Kalam examines India's strengths and weaknesses. He offers a vision of how India can be among the world's 5 economic power in 2020. The main thrust of the book is to make India rid of her poverty and how to make her strong in trade and commerce and also in science and technology. In Ignited Minds, an inspiring book written mainly for youngsters, Kalam underlines his sources of inspiration since childhood, but also presents a vision of India which is scientifically as well as spiritually progressive. He talks about the negative attitudes that have beset the countrymen. We have abundant resources. What we require is a change of attitude from negation to affirmation and creativity. Besides, he has also written many articles and essays. His speeches are countless. All his writings and speeches are inspiring. His style is remarkable for simplicity, lucidity, precision, exactness, and correctness. His words are full of inspiration. He persuades and inspires. He can be poetical and imaginative when the occasion demands. For example, in his essay, The Joy of Human Life, he writes, quote, one's life should be just like a flower that gives fragrance and beauty in the morning and falls to the ground in the evening where it was born, unquote. Novel. Novel is a vital medium for the expression of the spirit of the age. It can never grow and develop in isolation. It is related with life and society. It is a late development in Indian English literature. Indian English novel dates back to the beginning of the 20th century. The era of awakening or freedom struggle. The, quote, 3 musketeers of Bengali literature, unquote, R.C. Dutt, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee and Rabindranath Tagore shaped it in its formative years. R.C. Dutt, who wrote 6 novels in Bengali, translated 2 of them, The Lake of Palms, 1902, and The Slave Girl of Agra, 1909, into English. The first is based on the theme of widow marriage and has a social purpose. The second is a historical romance which reveals Dutt's gift of telling his story well. He introduced the theme of social reformation. His characters are well portrayed. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's famous novels Kopalkundola, Durgesh Nandini, Krishnakantir Will, The Two Rings, and Rajmohan's Wife were rendered into English. He imparted excellence and realism to themes of social life. His historical novels depicting themes of patriotism and revolution provided suitable model to Indian English novelists. He also gave them the technique of plot construction. Page 465. Para. Tagore's novels were originally written in Bangla. Three of his novels, The Wreck 1921, Gora 1923, and Home and the World 1919 were rendered into English. He brought psychological delineation of human character to novel. He also added depth and significance to the novel. Para. The work of early pioneers is feeble both in form and expression. B. Rajan Iyer's Vasudev Shastri 1905 is remembered for its style, vivid characterization, and a delicate blend of humor and seriousness. A. Madhaviyar's Thillai Govindan 1912, written on the theme of religious reform, is marked by sincerity of expression. S. P. Banerjee's Tales of Bengal contain stories of rural Bengal. They add the element of rural realism to Indian English novel. Miss Cornelia Sorabji in her three books, Love and Life, Behind the Parda 1901, Sun Babies 1904, and Between the Twilights 1908, writes about the miserable condition of women in Indian society in graceful and lucid style. Sardar Joginder Singh's Nur Jahan is a historical novel about the romance of an Indian queen. It lacks in historical imagination. The early Indian English novels do not evince any remarkable development either in characterization or plot construction. Para. The Gandhian era, the era of freedom struggle, made the whole country acutely conscious of its present and its past and stirred it with new hope for future. A society undergoing resurrection and transformation provides a fertile soil for the growth and development of novel. The independent movement was not merely a political struggle but an all persuasive emotional experience. The independence movement was not merely a political struggle, but an all-persuasive emotional experience for all Indians the early decades of the 20th century. It was an experience that was national in nature. Mahatma Gandhi was the central figure in the freedom struggle. Many facets of the freedom struggle and contemporary social problems became the themes of new novels. Mahatma Gandhi's personality and ideology also influenced Indian English novel of this period and exposed evils of society and sympathized with the underdog in The Untouchable, The Village, The Big Heart, and short stories. Venkataramani painted pictures of village life in Murugan, The Tiller, and depicted the Gandhian movement in Kandan. The patriot Raja Rao's Kantapura describes the spontaneous response of Indian community to the Gandhian revolution. The novel writing moved away from allegory, did symbolism to social realism. Para. The technique also showed advancement. Raja Rao adopted the autobiographical form of narration in Kantapura. Anand expressed his propagandist motive in several novels in advanced technique of storytelling. Para. K.S. Venkataramani, an outstanding novelist in 1920s, was, quote, the most stimulating in thought and versatile in talent, unquote, stop. His first novel, Paper Boats, 1921, gave a few vignettes of South Indian life. On Sand Dunes, 1923, was a book of prose poems. Murugan the Tiller depicts vivid pictures of village life. There is subtle irony in it. It is a first-rate novel on India in transition. It is remarkable for vivid pictures of village life, its poetry and its humor, its mingling of humor and idealism. His next novel, Kandan, The Patriot, a novel of New India in the making, 1932, is set against the background of the civil disobedience movement of 1930s. It is a novel with a purpose. It is remarkable for adroitness of plot construction and variegated brilliance of characterization. A Day with Sambhu is a book for children. Para. Shankar Ram, in his two collections of short stories, The Children of Kaveri, 1927, and Creatures All, 1932, deals with rural life. The stories in these volumes are noticeable for well-contrived plot, fine arrangement of incidents, and flawless narrative. K. Nagarjun's Athavar House, 1937, and Chronicles of Kedaram, 1961, are memorable novels. Cold Rice, 1945, is a collection of fine short stories. His plots are well constructed, characters well delineated, and backgrounds well described. A.S.P. Iyer is remembered for his two historical novels, Baladitya, 1930, and Three Men of Destiny, 1939, in which the novelist commingles historical facts with imagination. Para. Humayun Kabir wrote Men and Rivers, 1945, and Three Stories, 1945. The first is a poignant love tragedy in rural background. K. A. Abbas, a famous journalist and film producer, director, is a famous novelist and short story writer. In his famous works Tomorrow is Ours, Defeat for Death, Rice and Other Stories, Inkilab, 1000 Nights on a Bed at Stories, and The Black Sun. Abbas conscientiously tries to translate his social vision into artistic terms and reveals infinite sympathy and compassion for the underdog. D. F. Karaka, a man of versatile genius, wrote three novels, Just Flesh, 1940, There Lay the City, 1947, and We Never Die, 1944. He is a progressive writer with a social purpose. His command over English is noticeable. Page 466. Dhan Gopal Mukherjee wrote many books on Indian village and wildlife. Some of his works are My Brother's Face, The Secret Listeners of the East, The Face of Silence, The Chief of the Hard, Hari, The Jungle Lad, and Gay Neck. His keen interest in wildlife distinguishes his works. The liquid simplicity of style is artistically charming. C. Subramani Iyer, known as Kumar Guru, in his two collections of short stories, Life's Shadows and A Daughter's Shadows, depicts the transition from the old to the new. Para. The Indian English novel of this period reveals the spirit of the age in an authentic manner. It has become a great literary force, a powerful medium for creating social and national awareness. In the post-independence era, Indian English novel came to maturity and attained full flowering.